Hi all, welcome to the QA Tech Talk. So in the last session, we will create our own API request in the Postman tool. So today we are going to learn the environment variable system in the Postman. So let's open the login request. So in the login request, you can see the URL https demoqa.com account v1 slash login. So this https demoqa.com is the base URL and these are the path parameters. So this base URL is common for all our API requests. So if I'm opening the book request, you can see that the base URL https demoqa.com is still available in the book API also. And also in the body, we have the username and password values are hard coded in the body section. So assuming our application is going to deploy in another environment, in UAT environment. So at that time, we have to test the API in the UAT environment. So at that time, the base URL may be different from the current environment. Let's assume the base URL will be https demoqa.uat.com, and also the username and password will be different from our current environment. It may be some other username and password. So at that time, we have to come to our request and we have to update the base URL and we have to update the username and password value. And in future, our application may be deployed to some another environment like production. And at that time also, the URL and the username and password will be different. So in that case also we have to come to our individual request and we have to update the data in the individual request. So this is not a good practice. It's a tedious process. So in order to handle this type of environment related issues, Postman come up with an inbuilt functionality that is environment variable. So let me go and create a new environment. So for that, in the sidebar, you can see an environment section. So let's click on the environment. So currently, I'm not seeing any environment under this section. So here we have a plus button in order to create a new environment. So I'm going to create a new environment. So I'm clicking on this button. So a new environment window will be appeared. Here I can give a name to this environment. So I'm giving a name QA environment. And here I'm going to store all my test data of the QA environment in this section as a key value pair. So environment is nothing but a collection of key value pair. So here the first key is base URL. So let me store my base URL under the base URL key. So what is my base URL? Let me go to my request. So this is our base URL. So let me copy this https demo.com and I'm going to store this under the base URL key. Similarly, we have a username for this QA environment. So what is our username? Let me go here. And this is Mehmatullah. Let me go and copy paste this value, this username value. Similarly, we have a password. So let me store the password in the password key. And the password is Kibus95. Yeah, Kibus95. Let me copy and let me paste under this section. Now we store our key value pairs in the QA environment. So now we need to update our API request in order to retrieve these values from our environment variable. So for that, let me go to my login. So in the login, this http demo QA.com is already stored in the base URL variable under the QA environment. So in order to call that value, we can use a double curly braces. So let's use the double curly braces here. Inside the double curly braces, we can use that variable name. So this the variable name is base URL. So let me save this content first. So I save this details in the QA environment. Now I'm coming back to my login. Here I am pasting that key name, that is base URL. So currently, if I mouse over, I'm getting an error unresolved variable because this collection is not mapped to any environment. So here you can see no environment is selected. So if I want to select the environment, I can simply come to this particular dropdown. You can see the QA environment is listed. So I can simply select the QA environment. So now the color is changed to orange, and you can see the values of our base URL. You can see under this particular session, https democrat.com. In the similar way, we can remove this hard-coded username with our username variable. That is username. Similarly, we can change this hard-coded password with our password variable. Now we updated all the hard-coded data from our login, and we can save this particular request. Now, if I am clicking on the send button, it will retrieve the data from our QA environment and uh, submit that request. So if I'm getting the success response with the username Nihmatullah and password Kibas95, and the URL is also working correctly. So in the future, if our application is deployed to another environment, assuming our application is deployed in the QAT environment, at that time we don't need to do any changes in our collection. We can simply come to the environment section, and here we can create a new environment, that is UAT environment. So let me give a name UAT. Here we can create the base URL under the section base URL, and we can give a value. We can keep the base URL of our UAT environment under this section. So I'm updating this value as demo QA UAT. This is an invalid URL, but I'm just giving a UAT value here. And in the use here, I'm going to give the username and password. So let me give a username as Nehmatullah, and password I'm giving as tested1. Now I'm saving this now. And if I want to test our API against the UAT environment, I can simply select this UAT environment here. And if I go back to my login request, and if I mouse over, you can see the base URL is updated to demoqauat.com, and in the username, this is the base URL is updated to demoqauat.com. And if I'm sending this request, I will get some error because this particular URL is not a valid URL. But if you want to see what is the actual error is, then we can simply go to the console section, and if I'm expanding this request, you can see the URL, that is demoqauat.com, that actually not a correct URL. And if I want to see the request body, you can see that the password is test at 120, that is retrieved from the UAT environment. So if our application is deployed to some other environment, we can simply go and create a new environment without doing any updation in our collection. So we can use this collection against different environment, and we can run our connection against multiple environments. So that is the beauty of environment systems in the Postman. So in the similar way, I'm going to update all other requests. So here also, I'm going to change this demoqr.com with our base URL. So let me which URL here. Here also, I'm changing this value to base URL. Here also, I'm renaming this value. Now we updated the hardcoded data from all the API requests, and we use the environment variable in our request. Uh, for the time being, for this time, we are triggering individual API requests one by one format. If I want to run all my requests as a collection, then we have an option to run as collection run. So let's save all these requests first. Let me save each request now. I hope everything is saved. Yeah, everything is updated. Let me Click on this three dot option here. Then we have a run collection. So a collection runner section will be displayed here. So first of all, I need to run it manually, and we can choose the iteration, how many times our collection will run. So by default, I'm selecting as one. Then if we have any CSV file or data file here, we can choose that data file from the select file option. And here we have to select the environments first of all. So I'm selecting the UAT environment here, and if I'm running the regression collection, all my tests will executed correctly. I think we got an error. I think in our test case there is some issue with our test case. Let's go back to the get details of the books. Yeah, here we missed the stop action. So let's go back and run the correction. Yeah, all our requests are completed. All our APIs are successfully triggered, and we can track the response. First one is 200, 200, 200, 201, and 204. So we can see the summary here. View summary, we can see also the view summary using this view result. So this is, so in the next session we are going to learn about the automation testing in Postman.